Last season, Lucetta missed out by a single point to David Burns. Now, as we approach the season 24 finale, it appears the tables have turned. Manuel needs a simple top 5 finish to seal the deal, and considering he has yet to finish outside of that in the first 4 rounds, it's looking grim for Burns. We'll see what Germany delivers as we get ready to watch round 5 of the Absolute Beginners League Formula Neagle, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. To add to the spice, today's race takes place on a circuit that the ABL has yet to compete on. Let's take a look at our track guide to learn more about Hockenheim. Welcome to Hockenheim. Located just an hour away from the border of France, this is a German track whose nature has changed drastically over its history. Once an eye-watering blast through long straights in the forest, it has since been truncated to its current format. With 6 different layouts ranging between 2.5 and 4.5 kilometers containing 13 to 16 turns, depending on which you choose, it's got something for just about every level of racing. This means it would fit everything from club cars up to Formula 1. And that's perhaps what it's most well known for. One of the regular hosts for the German Grand Prix, it has been the scene of multiple dramatic moments, some triumphant, some tragic. Its redesign in the early 2000s gave it a few well-placed overtaking spots. The Parabolica entrance can create a good sneak attack, but even if you don't get it done there, the huge run towards the tight and slow Spitz curve is the place most well known for overtakes. If neither of those work, on rare occasions, Mercedes Corner can see drivers manage to pass one another. While the straights certainly aren't as long as the old version, it still requires a good deal of top speed to be competitive. But driver beware. Throttle control can often make or break your lap on the latter half of the circuit. All in all, German race fans can be assured to find Well, DJ, it's not often that we see new tracks here in the Absolute Beginners League, but I think this one is probably pretty highly anticipated for this crowd.
Oh, most certainly, Joe. This is right in a lot of these guys' backyards is Hockenheim, so they're very excited to come here. And in these Formula Skip Barber machines, it's going to be a whole lot of fun. The passing zones are normally to what we do see in other series here at Hockenheim, really going down all the way. Maybe we can see a little bit going into Einfahrt Parabolica, that second corner. We tend to see maybe some setup moves going in there, but definitely going down into Spitzkara. Now, the biggest and best part of this, though, is going to be going down into that Mercedes-Benz Arena section. We always see some really, really good action there. And I think in the Mobile 1 curve, we could see a couple of brave moves going down into that. With the lower speeds and lower downforce of these cars, that makes it a little bit more opportune for passing. The Sachs curve, always tricky though. Drivers are going to have to be careful because the track does narrow up before they get there. But Joe, rest assured, all around, this is just going to be one fantastic race. And especially it's going to have one of the things we always look for in this series, which is a draft fest down that long Parabolica.
Indeed, and well, for the championship, since I mentioned it, why don't we glance here at the F1 drivers' standings. Lucetta leading Burns by 14th. As I mentioned, all Lucetta has to do is do 5th or better, and that will make it not matter what happens with the bonus points. He will take the victory in the championship. Justjonk is too far back to be able to do anything mathematically, so it is only between those two, although he could be overtaken by Sauer, and then Josh Brain rounds out our top 5. We'll keep a close eye on those to see if any of those 3 swap positions around. What about the F2 championship, DJ? That's just as important.
It most certainly is, Joe. And in that F2 championship, it's relatively the same distances we see between all drivers there. Ludwig Sauer has just a 14-point lead over Eric Luca, with Christopher Giros just about 10 points back from that. Taylor Reeder, though, very close to Giros, only 6-point back. But the best battle we've got, well, that's Peter Stipik and Frederick Neptune, the Trident, battling it out for P5. They're tied right now, Joe, so keep an eye on that, very close across the board.
And of course, we have a team's championship as well in this series, and Two Stupid Dogs is starting to see a theme here. Only 1 point difference as well, 13 between Kalmbach and Two Stupid Dogs. Video Brewer is back there, another 16 points back, with Evolve Motorsports holding down the 4th position by nary 1 point over NHR Esports. So those two teams will certainly be keeping a close eye on where each other are in this race. Speaking of this race, DJ, why don't you go through the race details?
Well, Joe, as you said at the top there, this is the season finale for season 24 of the Absolute Beginners League. We are racing the Skip Barber Formula 2000 machines out here. So tiny little cars, little wheels, and little downforce. It's going to be a 40-minute race, but before that, drivers are out on track right now for a 15-minute open qualifying session. It is an open setup, but setup choices tend to be a little bit limited in these Skippies, but there is a 51% fuel limit. So everybody will have to come into the pits at some point tonight. And this is always crucial. At the start, it's a little bit different than what we see normally here on the Global SimRacing Channel. It's a standing start.
Yes, and that could be interesting down into the first corner, as everybody will have to scatter a bit, I'm sure, trying to take as much speed through there as possible. Now, we mentioned that there are bonus points in that championship, just so that our viewers are aware. The 3 that are available are finished on the lead lap, led 1 or more laps, and a fastest race lap, fastest lap of the race, rather. So one of those can only be taken by 1 person. The other 2 can be taken by anybody out there, and you can have both of them. So it's a question of where they finish in regards to that. Now, if one of them aren't on the lead lap, that's probably a much bigger concern to them rather than the bonus point. David Burns coming around, who sits in 4th, is going to cross the line yet again. And this lap looks like 57.9. That is quicker. That'll put him up into 2nd. Saunders, just behind him, actually holds the provisional pole for the time being. But where is Lucetta? I'm trying to find him.
Joe, Manuel is set the slowest time of the session right now. He's all the way back in 25th. And I have to say, he doesn't exactly look completely confident on this circuit. I was watching some of his times during practice. He was well down the order.
This is a bit of a dire situation with the 91, because if he has to start that far back, getting up to 5th is going to be both difficult and dangerous. He could so easily find himself getting caught up in somebody else's accident. It's the last thing that either of them wants in this situation, because that could cost him the championship at the end. And after the heart-wrenching finish of last season, I doubt that the 91 wants to give it up again. He's into the stadium section. DJ, let's see if this one will put him a little closer to what we're used to.
Yeah, let's see. He's got to get through these final 2 corners here. Always very tricky. They're not full braking corners, even in the low downforce of these cars, but he's now heading towards the line. This looks like this is going to be a lot more competitive. Comes across with a 158.1. That's gonna get him up the order ever so slightly into 4th. That's not ever so slightly. That's a good lap for Lucetta.
He's still about half a second off of Saunders, but he is within what looks like about 2/10 of Burns, which is really his main concern. So as we see the Italian continue on around, Saunders, interestingly, pulling a toe from David Burns, so that might explain why he's been able to get the quickest time so far, or help him get the quickest time so far. Saunders with a 57.4. He goes even faster, half a second ahead of David Burns, who himself also goes faster, but he continues to tow that 16 around. This is Just Jonk back in 5th. His latest lap bumped him to 7th.
Yeah, and I think the tow is going to be pretty crucial around here, as there Frederick Neptune puts his first time on the board in 11th. That long run down towards Spitzkara is absolutely crucial, so you really want to pick that up. And we've seen dirty air not really affect these cars as much as you would expect, but here we come watching Jan Mild come across the line. He puts in a 2-minute dead pretty much, if that's going to stick, and it looks like that lap was invalidated.
Yeah, so he's the only one without a lap, and he's got to try and get around for another one. I think he'll have time for 2 more. Salander just came across, and he improved to a 58.5. This is Mann down in 28th. And he comes off of the south curve, a 201.4. Has he got anything better than that underneath him? No, 201.7. While we go back to the Italian once again.
Yeah, we go back to Manuel Lucchetta here as he, a little bit too much curb there on the entry. Now he comes through the south curb right now. He's got a little bit of a toe in front of him, so that'll help. But this is going to be a slow lap there, Joe. He's not going to be able to improve on that sixth place position.
Yeah, and he'll only come around to start one more after this flyer. This will be fascinating to watch. He'll go past one of his rivals and actually have a slow lap as he fights side by side with Bernardi.
Very, very strange to see that happening in qualifying. Most guys very courteous. That's definitely going to slow him down on this lap.
All right, so he'll have to come back around, start one more flyer, and get that last opportunity to try and go quicker. Saunders once again improves, and Burns is actually going to let him by. Burns went off, so this also won't be a lap to count for David, and he's pulling over to Park. He's down to fourth. David Burns will not start on the pole position.
Well, that's going to be tough, but I think as long as Burns can stay in maybe that top 5, top 6, stay in that lead pack, he should be okay. Nicholas Anderson, you see they're putting in the 29th fastest lap as we watch Jan Mild coming to the line. And Joe, this may be a situation of drivers learning this track for the first time as Jan puts down a 59.9. If that sticks, looks like it doesn't. This is a new track on the service, and we are used to seeing tracks in the ABL schedule be ones that have been on for a long time. So there's a bit of a learning curve to this, and we may be looking at guys who are just able to adapt a little bit faster.
Speaking of faster, Andrew Leach onto the front row with that last lap, as the rest of them trickle across. Mackenzie Mann up next to 2 flat 3, and that will put him into 26th position. Lucchetta on screen once again, sitting in 8th now as he and Burns continue to struggle here today. The 91, obviously not going to be on a good lap this time across. No, I take that back. A 57.8. How is that a good lap?
That's what makes a champion, Joe, when you have a good lap and you can pull it out of nothing. Absolutely incredible there from Manuel. Here comes Christian Grula coming to the line. Currently sat in 19th with a 59.141. Comes out of that last corner. Looks like he may have cost himself a little bit of momentum, but able to go faster by about the tune of 0.2 of a second. But that lap didn't stick.
No, Saunders didn't go faster either. Wonder if it's the tires getting into the working range that helped Lucchetta, even though he got held up trying to battle with someone there. Josh Darcy in 4th. Dancy, rather, is not going to be able to go faster than his 57.8. We look at Neptune, who jumps up into 13th with that latest lap.
And Christopher Crook there being able to stay steady in 8th place. Josh Brain comes across the line, unable to set a faster time here, but the 9.46 is going to be in a tow for this next lap. Here comes Salander to the line, currently in 12th.
Also Mild up the road. Hey, Mild finally got one on the board. About a 2 flat there. Salander, a 2 flat 2. So that was a slow lap for him. This is Neil Smet. He comes out of the south curve. And the number 23 is 24th at a 59.3. Oh, improves by about 0.5 of a second. That will get him up into 21st.
That's a good run, and good consistent run from them. A little bit of oversteer there from Peter Stipek coming through the south curve. Now comes onto the start-finish straight. Looks like that's going to be a hair bit slow for the Central Eastern Europe driver, and indeed a little bit slow on that. Here comes Lucchetta to the line. Let's see if he's able to improve, taking that last corner very wide on the way.
Is it clean? It is, and it's quicker. A 57.5 will put him on the front row, and Burns is not able to respond. He is all the way down in 6th now.
Oi, oi, oi. That is not the way David Burns wants to start off of this race. But here we go again with Christian Grula. They're taking a good line out of that corner, carrying plenty of momentum. And now he's going to come to the line, able to improve to the tune of about 5-6 tenths of a second.
Up to 16th for him. Saunders, last lap was not quicker, but he stays on pole. Used Yonk, 57.588. That is exactly the same as Lucetta, down to the thousandths, but it looks like it'll shuffle him behind him as the service does count beyond that thousandth of a second. It is going to be incredibly tight at the top of the field behind our leader.
It very, very much is. Josh Brain currently in 7th, seeing if he can maybe get himself into there. Yeah, he knew. Oh! Yeah, I don't know what happened there, Joe. He just lost control before he got to the line.
Mild coming into the pits, so is Solander. Alpstead, is he able to complete this lap? He's going to try to. He's in 15th, or 20th rather. And as he crosses the line, nope, that one did not count for him. Smet, is he one of our last ones potentially? We're getting to the tail of the field. The 23 and 22nd, 59.2. And he does not gain any positions. He'll start on that 11th row.
Indeed. And so, Joe, I think what's really interesting there as we saw that play out is the effectiveness and the importance of that draft. All of those fast times were set in dirty air. They were set tucked up behind somebody down the parabolica. So as we've seen so many times at tracks like Bathurst, tracks like Spa, Watkins Glen, that draft is going to be so crucial in order to get a pass done and move your way up through the field.
Well, we are going to have to watch and see how it plays out, because we've seen this with multiple other types of cars, but never ones in this class, this slow of a class. So this will give us a new experience. We've had everything from Camel GT to sports cars in the vein of IMSA to even Lotus 79, old Formula One cars racing around here. The absolute beginners are now going to try and attempt it themselves as they start to line up on the grid. And let's go through that grid today. It is Rhys Saunders who starts it on the pole, with Manuel Lucetta starting next to him. Just Jonk in 3rd, followed by Andrew Leach in P4. After that, you've got Josh Dancy in 5th, David Burns in 6th, and Josh Brain in P7, Christopher Cook 8th, Ludwig Sauer 9th, and Alexander Wilfert rounding out the top 10.
Timmy Nylander is going to be 11th, followed by Frederick Neptune in 12th. 13th will be Andre Solander, and Filippo Bernardi in 14th, with Wojciech Podacek in 15th. Christian Grula will be 16th, followed by Vincent Brim in 17th, Marcus Beifeld in 18th, Nick Carty and Kai Alpstead round out your top 20.
21st goes to Steve Durr, with Neil Smet in 22nd. Ryan Walker in 23rd, followed by Thomas Kick in the 24th position. Inside of the next row is Nick Anderson, Peter Stipek, 26th, Klaas Loden in 27th, and then Jan Mild in 28th. Last three, as all of them got times in, is Thomas Mann and Van Immerseal. Let's see, we are lacking about 4 cars that we're waiting to grid up, and then we are on our way. Let's see who has got the best run down into the first corner, who can use the slipstream the best, and also, will the pitch strategy play a part in today's race? The championship is on the line. Lucetta is oh so close, but he has to finish it off here today. What will happen with him? Just waiting for the last few seconds to tick down here in our gridding, and it looks like everybody is now out there. So as the engines start to rev, the lights now come up and the green flag is out. Rhys Saunders is not off very well already. Lucetta is going to slot in behind him. And then back behind, single file for most of the cars into the first corner. Looking good so far. This is pretty orderly, not seeing any incidents.
Nor am I, Joe. Everybody able to get through that first corner nice and easy. A little bit of an inside line there for Andrew Leach coming through the first corner, but now they start to take a little bit of different lines. You can see Lucetta trying to get a little bit more momentum. He wants to be out front here. Tucks up behind the 16 of Reese Saunders, and already he's poking his nose to the outside, bringing Just Jonk along with him.
Only incident we've had so far is Podacek having a little tap, sending him spinning at the parabolic entry 3 wide down into the Spitzker, and it looks like Jonk is going to be able to take advantage of that draft to take the lead away from the battling pair of Lucetta and Saunders. So coming up to the Mercedes arena, not seeing any other incidents behind him. This is a good sign for the race. It is always so easy to tangle with one another in some of these corners.
Very much is. Reese Saunders there going hyper defensive going down into the Mercedes-Benz arena. It almost cost him another position to Andrew Leach, but out front, Just Jonk continues to have a good lead here. Trailing him behind, it is Lucetta, Saunders, Leach, Dancy, and Burns all the way back in 6th.
Only DNF in that first lap so far is Podacek, who did have to take a tow. Now they've got 2 spare cars here, so that will help him get back out and racing if he wants it, but he's certainly way too early for a scheduled pit stop. The front group snaking their way through the stadium section, and it looks like we may have lost a couple. Steve Durr in an incident, as well as Kai Alpstead. We'll get back to that in a second while the leaders finish the first lap. Jonk leading, Lucetta in 2nd, Saunders 3rd, Leach 4th, and Dancy 5th.
And a very, very close, good run here from Lucetta. He is right up behind the gearbox of Just Jonk. Now, they have been able to get a little bit of a gap with Burns bringing up the tail of this 6-car train. There's about a 1.5 seconds back to Christopher Crook, who's a bit in no man's land. Again, Reese Saunders taking a very, very narrow line into the corner. Lucetta, again, doing maximum momentum there, trying to carry speed through the second part of that parabolica entry.
Oh, and Ludwig Sauer, unfortunately, seems to have run into an issue. He is off to the side of the track and takes a tow, but let's stay here because once again, 3 wide and to the inside. Saunders looks like he has the desired line, but it's going to be very tight into there. Backing. Jonk sees what's happening. He wants to try and stay out of this 3 wide situation to the outside. Lucetta coming back at him, but he can't get the launch. He'll settle for 2nd. Here comes Leach into 3rd.
Yeah, trying to make a move there. And we've seen some passes maybe try to be thrown there into the Mercedes-Benz arena. It's an easier place to do it because of the concrete runoff there. Lucetta gets a very wide line out of there. That's going to open him up to Andrew Leach on the outside. But Leach is going to have to hold that down. Watch out behind him, because if he does that too much, Just Jonk's going to be able to come up his gearbox.
And at the back of that train, I don't know if you've mentioned it, DJ, David Burns, trying to keep himself in contention, but he needs to be ahead of Lucetta. We must remember, as long as that 91 is in front of him, then it is a done deal.
Yeah, and that may prompt David Burns to do something that we haven't really seen a lot out of him, be a little bit more aggressive, potentially. Burns is very, more often than not, a calm, relaxed driver, tries to hold back a little bit. This may try to push him forward. We ride on board. You can see the varying lines up front, Joe, and that's what's really interesting to me. Between Saunders, Lucetta, and Leach, everybody seems to be taking a little bit different line through these fast brush-breaking corners.
Riding on board with the 6th place driver. And what's amusing to me is, as most of our cars come across to start lap 3 here, less than half the field, okay, now it's starting to become more than half the field, have taken a fastest lap. That means basically they don't get to count a fastest lap if they've had an off track, because it won't count for them. Everybody has been having trouble with the edges of the track, and they do have an incident limit in this series, so that is of concern. Lucetta concerned with taking the lead away from Saunders for what he hopes to finally be the first time. And I think he's got it now. They've got Kai Alpstead slow on the inside. He's going to be able to let them through.
And Joe, there was a little bit of contact there between Andrew Leach and Reese Saunders. Oh, we've got a spinner in the back.
That's Wilford in the 79. Oh, he's in a bad place. He probably wants to get out of the way here. I don't know why he's not backing up. Driver's having to scatter around him. Now he's found a gap, as we're going to look at the replay.
All right, so this is on the run through the Parabolica down into Spitzkehre. That is the number 79 right in the center of your screen. Coming up behind, good draft there, pulls out to the inside. Ready for the move. Now is about when you get on the binders, goes in. Ooh, just locked up that right rear tire, and that sent him spinning around.
Well, that's the good news, that nobody's hit him, so at least there was no contact to cost him damage, especially at a track where you want the aerodynamics to be as clean as possible. But you see, he has been cycled down to 25th because of that. Leaders still have 6 of them in a train. Nobody's been able to break away quite yet.
No, but there is just a little bit of a gap there starting to develop between these top 2 and Andrew Leach behind. And as I was saying before we saw that spinner, Leach and Saunders had a little bit of contact through the Spitzkehre. Leach coming on the radio and just saying, sorry, man, I didn't see you. I didn't realize how much you were going to slow down. So don't think there's any damage to the 2 cars, but just something to be aware of.
On board with Leach right now. Let's see what his speed is like compared to those ahead of him, as they're going to swap around once again. Lucetta letting Saunders by, and I think Yonk is going to do similarly, getting himself into third, going by Leach. Doesn't look like track position means a whole lot today.
No, Joe, and now I think we're going to settle down into what we seemingly always talk about during the course of the Absolute Beginners League, which is fuel strategy and then positioning yourself to be in the best place on that final lap. You want to probably be in second or third going down through the Parabolica, but the one thing that leaders will have advantage here for them is this Mercedes-Benz Arena section, as well as the Mobil 1 stadium section here that they're coming up on. Both of these areas have a lot of opportunity for fight back if you're side by side, so it's not like you have to be in second and you'll win the race.
Having a little bit of fun in the mid-pack with one of our hard chargers. The 3 of Ryan Walker is in a great fight with Bernardi, and Walker is up from 23rd to 11th right now. This is a fantastic bit of climbing.
Yeah, it really is. We ride on board with Ryan right now. Really, really good job. Obviously helped a little bit by some of that kerfluffle, but able that we saw earlier in the race, but able to take good advantage of it. So also some great branding on that car. It's a great sponsor for him there.
Flying the colors, one of our commentators here from time to time, Ryan Walker, as he continues to see if he can get around the 85. Great exit off of the north curve. Now, does he want to do it here, though? And I don't think he does. He gives a little bit of a lift. I think he knows, look at a much better run down through the Parabolica, or will he? He'll get to the inside of them before they even get there.
Yeah, thinks about backing off, though, but basically based off of where everybody is around him at that point, not exactly. Oh, no, he's going to back up here, try to pick up a little bit more draft. That's what I thought he may have tried to do there. He's getting a little bit hung out to dry around the outside. He's just got to do this the old-fashioned way. Joe, be a little bit later on the binders.
Looked like it was facilitated by the 85. Lets him through, and Walker is now into 10th. That car in front of him is Byfeld, another driver that has certainly gained a lot, from 18th to 9th currently, and 30 minutes left to go.
Yeah, some good movers and shakers there as Ryan now sets his eyes on Byfeld in front of him. Little poke to the inside there. Oh, and he did exactly what Ryan wanted him to do. That is a mental game by Ryan Walker, paying out in spades.
There may have been a little ghost contact between them, though, as I go back and look at it. I hope not, as that's be a bit of a shame. We're going to once again turn our attention to the top 6. Burns has now moved to 5th. Dancy gets shuffled behind him. So David deciding now is when I really need to start going. Wonder, though, if him hanging around so far in the back of this group is all to plan, that maybe he is saving fuel and he's going to try and leapfrog them when they come in.
It's a distinct possibility, Joe. You know, he was back in sixth for a while. I think he recognized that Dancy was a little bit off the pace and wanted to get forward. And we have seen David time and time again be one of the most heads-up drivers and thoughtful, thinking ahead in terms of strategy. So I think you hit the nail on the head there. Definitely thinking about the long game is David Burns.
And Lucchetta is the one pushing a lot of that air right now, but he's been trading it back and forth with Saunders. The 16 moves off to the right-hand side. Yeah, he's going to easily take this one right back. Does Jonk want to get involved, or is he content to hang? He just wants to hang. So he's also going to try and save fuel. So does Leach. Doesn't go for it. Neither does Burns. This brings Dancy back to them as he lost a little bit of ground, but it is still these six. Crook has fallen a full 5 seconds behind. He lost the slipstream, and it was good night from there.
Yeah, you lose that slipstream around here. It is very, very hard to try to get back. Little bit of an interesting defensive line there from Saunders. Maybe he was thinking that he was going to get a little bit of an attack there from Lucchetta, but obviously nothing doing there. These top 5 just top 6 really just content to run together right now.
Already lost 3 cars here today. Durr, Sauer, and Podacek have DNF'd and are gone. 28 still running on the track down into the stadium section. And all aboard the Skippy train. Will anybody dare to try and duck off early? Is everybody playing to the script here and waiting as long as possible? Because we are within the pit window already.
We are indeed, but we've seen quite a few times that trying to make that pit early can really come out and bite you. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see drivers try to extend this as much as possible, or potentially try to come in when somebody else does. You really don't want to lose that draft, and if you pit early, you run the potential of that.
A little bit of a look out there from Jonk in that bright mint green and black car. Who makes the moves this time? Out of the Parabolica entry. And the slipstream starts to pick up yet again. 100 miles an hour now for these Skippies, and still climbing. Lucchetta is going to look to the left-hand side. Saunders defends, but looks like he's going to be fully ahead of him by the time they hit the braking zone. Manuel down into the Spitzkura is in the lead. No change behind him.
Nope, nothing doing there. So everybody just continuing to hold back a little bit. And Joe, I can confirm I was riding on board. Oh, there's a big spin in the back.
Oh, Frederick Neptune. Was that on his own? Yeah, I think this was his own doing. He was battling with Crook. These cars have always been a little tail happy, not as much as they used to be. Oh, the curb. A lot of inside curb.
Yeah, it just took a little bit too much out of it. That upset the balance of the car. Almost collected Ryan Walker there on his rejoin, but Walker able to check up a little bit and get around him.
So Ryan now up to 8th because of that. Got by Bernardi. Got past the spinning car of... can't remember who it was exactly at this stage. Ooh, but he's having his own little bit of an adventure going through the gravel out of the Mobil 1 curve there for a brief moment. The 85 definitely keeping him under threat.
Yeah, Bernardi not letting this go away too easily. A little bit surprising with just how much Ryan had been able to get his way up through the field. You can see there a little bit more of a traditional late apex line for Walker as they came out. Everybody starting to move in and shuffle around behind him. Bernardi just trying to take, I think, a little bit of a mental head fake, trying to see if he can get Walker to get off of his mark going in through the north curve, but Walker not listening to it at all. He's going to keep the power down before they go into the beginning of the Parabolica.
Driver I was thinking of before was Marcus Beifeld, who had the spin. And he's actually not too far behind them. He's already made up ground. We had another lead change. You may have seen it on the top left of your screen. Saunders passed Lucchetta. If we're being a little bit casual about that, it's because we kind of expect it to keep doing that for some time. Little bobble into the corner from Manuel, though.
Yeah, a little bit of a bobble there. You can see it cost him a couple of tenths of a second, but Manuel just keeping nice and easy behind here. Not really enough of a bobble to get Jonk too close behind him. There really hasn't been too much swapping here. Everybody just still content to ride and be safe.
So out of the Mercedes arena, heading towards the stadium section. That gap behind them continues to grow. It's now 10 seconds down to Crook after he had to check up for the car that he was racing with. Ooh, we had a little bit of side-by-side between Bernardi and Walker going through Mercedes there. Looks like Walker managed to take advantage with a poor exit for Filippo and retake 8th.
Yeah, it did indeed, and there Filippo having a little bit more of a problem. That's allowed for Vincent Bream to really close up behind him, but good run there through the Sachs curve. That was really an impressive pull from Bernardi, able to get that gap back up to Walker, and now it's really all down to Vincent to try to make the catch-up here.
Yeah, I'm sure he's loving those two trading back and forth in that manner. That'll just allow him to continue to pull them in and get within striking distance. Close to the halfway mark now in this race. Still no scheduled stops that I have seen take place, but I have also seen a lot of cars go wide at corners like we just saw through the first turn, the north curve. So we got to be wary of who is going to potentially get a drive-through. 12th just behind them has been having a lot of action. This is what I was talking about before. Beifeld, Neptune, all those having some fun. And I think a couple drivers in the pits now.
Yeah, it looks like Josh Brain and Mackenzie Mann both coming in. There you can see behind, that's Neil Smet taking a little bit of a look on Christian Grula behind him. Also up front, we've got that little bit of a battle there. That's Beifeld and Bream and Neptune as they try to go around the 666, able to get himself in front.
A little bit of contact between Grula and Kick as well in that. And that was behind them that happened. Thankfully, it doesn't look like it caused any sort of spin or incident. But he's got to watch out that he doesn't damage the nose cone and lose a little bit of that speed. Ooh, and Brame just got by Bernardi. Once again in Mercedes. Seems like Filippo struggling to keep it together through there.
Yeah, that is a very hard section of the track, I will be honest. It really comes at you faster than you think it does. Filippo able to get a good line there. I think Ryan Walker may have run a little bit wide there through the Mobile 1 curve. You know, we saw Bernardi have a really good run through that last lap through the Sachs curve there and catch up to Ryan Walker.
Oh, Lucetta's in. Sorry, Lucetta has pitted, so he's going to break it perfectly in half. And you talked about it before that usually we don't see this strategy work, but the 91 seems to like it.
He does, and he has proven me wrong a couple of times in the past, but I don't like the idea of him coming out here without having a buddy to go alongside with. Comes to a stop in his box, though, no tires taken during this pit stop. It'll be fuel only and just waiting to get back on his way.
Highest other car to have pitted is Josh Brain. He's down in 25th. Lucetta is out and rolling. He'll return in 20th position and in clear track, so he's not going to have to fight by. So now there are 5 here at the front of the pack yet to pit stop. Jonk overtakes the lead from Saunders. He gets a new buddy to swap around with. Leach promoted to 3rd, Burns up to 4th, Dancy to 5th.
Yeah, and so now my concern for Lucetta is the fact that, yes, he's going to be able to run in clean air, and that'll probably help him through the 2 sort of arena sections that we have, but he's not going to have the benefit of the draft going down that straightaway, and I've got to think that's going to cost him a little bit of time. So we're going to have to take a look at their lap times once everything starts to cycle back through here and see if Lucetta is going to be losing out.
Without that slipstream, buddy, it's not looking good. Down through the Sachs curve. Does anybody respond, or do they keep going? Surprised we didn't see a teammate pop in with Lucetta, but I guess he isn't racing for a team now that I look at our stats. There we go. That's Saunders responding. So he doesn't want to get caught out. He seems to think that Lucetta might be up to something.
May indeed. He comes down to that pit speed limiter, gets the car ready to pull into the pits. Lucetta right now on track, still running in 20th.
Now there were 4. Yonk, Leach, Burns, and Dancy. Do we have some more takers? Yes, we do. Thomas Kick is in. Beifeld is in. Grula. Beifeld and Kick actually had a little bit of contact, so I wonder if that has forced them to pit earlier than they wanted to. Because I imagine they'll try and take a free repair with 2 of them on the board.
Saunders is on his way. Lucetta just now crossing over the start-finish line. There's 1 car by. Lucetta is coming up right about now. That is him poking his side into the left-hand side of your screen. They're going to be parallel. This is big for Lucetta. This gives him a buddy to draft with.
And big for Saunders, too, which means he did not lose touch with Lucetta. I'm sure he would have liked to be out fully ahead of him, but right now they can work together in these final 19 minutes of the race. They are in the mid-pack at about 15th and 16th, but they'll continue to climb through. Leach, Yonk, Burns, Dancy, your top 4 out of the Mercedes arena and into the stadium section. Anybody else want to follow suit?
Well, I think they're going to have maybe a couple of more laps left. Ooh, very wide run there from Andrew Leach, hooking those right side or those left side tires over the curbing. I think that unsettled it ever so slightly. And again, running wide there on the exit of the Sachs curve.
They do have some places with paved runoff, but not everywhere. Yonk pits, and he's also got a buddy in Josh Dancy. But David Burns playing the long game once again and pulling behind Andrew Leach.
Yeah, Burns normally... Pits. Interesting. Burns normally one of the guys that tends to go very, very long, as there we see them on your screen right now. So not exactly surprised that David's trying to extend this stint out as much as possible.
Now, I'm kind of curious. This is something that I haven't figured out yet since this is such a new track, but Christopher Crook took a very wide entry into pit lane, and I'm not sure if that will be an unsafe entry for him, if he has to commit earlier than that or not. We'll find out soon enough since he is in his pit stall. We continue to watch these top 2 down the Parabolica. Burns decides now is good enough to lead because there's not really much to slipstream behind, and everybody else is taking their pit stop, so might as well hit the boosters and go at it. Everybody else who we saw pit in are back out.
And Joe, Nicholas Anderson here is the massive fly in the ointment that could be the run for Lucetta and Saunders and Dancy. You can see all 3 of them there tucked up behind the number 2 driver. Joost Jonk, meanwhile, is about 2 seconds up the road from them. So this is absolutely disastrous for some of these drivers. Side by side, and Nick Anderson doesn't look like he's given up super easily. He's not required to. This is a battle for position. Now they're able to get through. Dancy, Saunders, and Lucetta are clear. Up next, and Yonk, I should point out as well. And Yonk seems to have pulled himself a decent gap ahead. Not sure if this 1.2 seconds is going to be enough to keep him completely out of range, though. But David Burns pits now. This is going to be decisive. It is indeed. Andrew Leach decides to stay out. Burns coming in hard, gets down to that speed limit. You can see there the pit stop for Joost Jonk was about 13.9 seconds. That is the fastest out of that lead pack. Everybody else, Lucetta had 15, Saunders 16, and Dancy about a 14.3. So here comes Burns down to rest in his pit stall. So where are our top pitters? Yonk is coming through the south curve right now. There he is, waiting for Burns to finish up his stop. Is it going to be quicker? Not quite. It's about the same as Yonk. As he starts to roll, he's not going to have the same sort of momentum. But he's well far ahead, and Yonk is trying to send it through the first corner as far as he can go, using up that incident point to give himself speed
It will keep him with Burns, but Burns holds the track position.
And there you see it again, that late stop for David Third Degree Burns really paying off in spades. But this does mean that lead group, Burns, Yonk, Lucetta, Saunders, Dancy, they have all remained together, which, Joe, I think is the first time that a lead pack hasn't been split up in the pits all season long.
Well, remember, they got one more, so if Leach stays with them, then yeah, we've gotten it. If they lose Leach, then they just nearly made it. 5 is still impressive to be that consistent. I'll go over the pit stop times and who had the quickest once we get Leach in, who has been phenomenally saving fuel this whole race. This is right now for second down through 6, but will be for the lead once we get the 502 onto the lane.
Exactly, and just waiting for that moment. And there you can see, Lucetta wanting to get a little bit aggressive on the exit of the Mercedes-Benz Arena, maybe trying to throw a move down the inside of Just Young or just psych him out ever so slightly. But he's got to be careful. And Leach is in. Our leader is in the pits.
He managed to go one lap longer than everybody else. Will that make enough of a difference as they come around through the Sachs curve? Leach is still looking for his stall, has to go a long time down for it as he started in 4th. Now he is in. The clock starts ticking as the rest of them come through the final corner. Onto the main straight. Leach still stationary. Up to 13 seconds, 14 seconds. It's a long one. 16, 17, one of the longest of that group. He might get lost in the shuffle, and he does. They're already by.
Oh, apologies to Andrew Leach. I take full responsibility for a commentator's curse on that one as he comes out of the pits about 2.7 seconds behind that lead pack.
In front of him, that was Lucetta in the 91, overtaking Just Yonk. He wants to be behind David Burns just to make sure things stay put. But remember, if Lucetta is within these top 5 at the end as we go 3 wide down the parabolica, if he's within the top 5, no matter what Burns does or how the bonus points fall, he is the champion. 3 wide down into the Spitzker, none of them willing to give way. Who's got the best exit? That's where it makes the difference. It's Lucetta.
You know, Joe, I really have to give credit to Lucetta there. I thought he was going to back out a little bit, try to play the numbers game, be a little bit Alain Prost-esque and just say, no, you know what, I don't want to risk the championship here, but he just stuck that into the corner and hung it out. He is not driving for the championship. He is driving like a true racing driver because he wants to win here at Hockenheim.
Back into the stadium section, 12 minutes to go, 2 minutes a lap. We're looking at potentially 6 laps. This actually could be a little tight, depending on when they cross the line. Drivers have been running laps just under 2 minutes. Yeah, this is going to be hard to call, and that could play a part in it as well, depending on how many laps they have at the end, DJ.
Very well could be. Looking at pit stop times, then, the people I would be concerned about, maybe not getting enough in that tank. Just Young and David Burns, the only drivers in the pits for less than 14 seconds. Burns with the 13.7, Young with the 13.9. The 2 longest stoppers, well, that's Lucetta and Saunders with a 15.3 and a 16.1, respectively.
Fascinating that those are the ones that played it safe on that. Big correction as we rode on board with our current championship leader, but didn't lose too much time. Saunders, though, gained a lot behind him, so I think that green and black machine is going to have a go at things. Yes, he is. Is he going to box him in? Yep, he is going to make sure and pinch him down behind David Burns so that he can get to the inside and take the lead.
Very savvy move there from Saunders, as Just Young almost looked like he had something going down the inside of Manuel Lucetta as well. But that's going to move Reese Saunders up into the lead. We look off of his rear wing right now at David Burns, hunting him down. Good run there from David. You see the 91 of Lucchetta poking his nose out as well. As I said, we start getting down into the latter stages of this race. This is the area when you can start to see a fight back. A pass going down into the Spitzkehre is not race over for any of these drivers. Is Lucchetta going to have a move down into Mobile 1?
He's going to think about it. Maybe he's seeing what's possible here side by side with David Burns, his rival. Maybe force an error out of him. Burns gives him just enough width going into the Sachs curve as they come out of there almost side by side, but eventually Manuel is going to have to slot in behind. I'd almost think that Manuel would give up a little here, knowing that he doesn't have to push this hard to take the championship.
I would think the same thing, Joe, but Manuel showing absolutely none of that. He is just driving the wheels off of that number 91 Skip Barber machine right now. Great run there through the north curve. You can see all the momentum he was able to carry over. David Burns catch up a little bit more. Don't be surprised if we see a move here now coming down the Parabolica.
So I have to ask then, DJ, if you're in this group, do you want to be second or third or maybe even farther back than that? Because it looks like the slipstream is mighty today.
It really does. And, you know, based off of what we were able to see Reese Saunders doing on that last run, I think there's a definite potential for a 3-wide going down into the Parabolica. So I don't know if it's necessarily about positioning or necessarily about where you are on track in terms of your number. We've got a little pass here. That's Burns trying to go up to the front. Lucchetta trying to poke his nose on the inside. That's going to push Saunders out wide a little bit. They're still going to be side by side. I'll get back to that point once they finish up this battle.
Drifting back a little bit, Manuel. Seems like he doesn't have the overlap. Oh, he thinks about it hard over the curb. Giving him space. Saunders has to go very wide down to the inside of our championship leader. Joost Jonk thinks that now's the time for him to try and get that track position. And they're going to continue side by side through Mercedes and into the stadium section. When are they going to get this sorted out? Lucchetta once again on the inside, but it's going to switch to the outside. It didn't work for him well last time up against Burns. Oh, pinching him all the way down to the apex, giving just enough room to Jonk. And did he do that the long way around? I think he did.
He did indeed, Joe. A very impressive drive from Lucchetta, but he lost a lot of time to that lead pack up in front. Now, as I was saying earlier, as we settle down here for the briefest of moments, I don't necessarily know where, what position in order I want to be, but where I want to be is probably in the middle of the track going into the Spitzkehre. You lose a little bit too much out on the outside and you blunt your momentum a little bit too much on the inside. So if you're going to go 3 wide, I want that sandwich. I want to be the meat in that sandwich going into the Spitzkehre. I think that's going to give me the best advantage.
So who puts themselves where this time? Coming down to the finish soon. And it looks like Saunders has a run on Burns. He's going to poke his nose out a little bit farther back for Lucchetta in the 91. Doubt he'll be able to get involved in it. Does he? Well, no, he's going to try and give it a go. He is going to get the overlap. He locks up the right front on his way down into the hairpin. He looks to get the launch off there, but man, that inside line just isn't working.
No, it's really not. You just blunt off too much momentum, and Bird's doing a good job to be able to throw the pinch in. Ooh, Lucchetta gets a little bit of an overlap, though, going down to the Mercedes-Benz Arena. Here they come into that left-hander, and now Lucchetta's going to lose out Jonk to the inside. It's a replay of last lap.
Last time it went in favor of Lucchetta, but, well, he's not side by side this time unless Jonk gets himself a fantastic bit of speed up to Mobile 1. He does not. So your new order: Saunders, Burns, Lucchetta, Jonk, and Dancy, your top 5. Ooh, Dancy going way wide at the back of that group, getting a little bit of dirt. Leach, who we saw come out of the pits late from them, has dropped back to 5 seconds. So he definitely was riding their coattails for their pace.
Yeah, he certainly was. And Joe, again, they're going into Mobile 1. Really looks like Lucchetta is struggling with that corner. The rear end, very, very slidey there. Looks like he has to gather it back under them every time they go through, and he almost ran wide into the kitty litter on that last lap.
Little mistakes like that could wind up being costly. Crossing with about 5:50 to go. They come down towards the parabolic entry. The magic number you're looking for is about a 157 at the line, and whether or not they'll get an extra lap. Getting ever closer to finding that out. Here we go. And this time it's Saunders leading the way, but Burns is going to pull the move right back on him.
Indeed he is, and here goes Lucetta. Lucetta not being denied here. Pokes his nose to the inside. They're going to go 3 wide down the Parabolica. Starts to get under braking. Used junk wants nothing of it. Dives back down to the inside. And that is going to be Saunders and Burns letting Lucetta take it away a little bit. They're going to be almost double file there. But in behind, Yonk decides nothing of it. They're going to go single file into Mobile One, or into the Mercedes-Benz Arena.
They have 3 minutes and 56 left this time. That is the other marker we're looking for. 3 minutes 54 rather, down into Mercedes. Burns and Saunders battling, which opens the door for Yonk. Yonk can't do anything with it. Dancy behind them. He's been sitting back there for some time. Does he actually have anything to try and move up in front of those, or is he just happy to sit here?
And we're about to find out in a couple of laps here, but I've got to be furious if I'm David Burns right now with Reese Saunders going, dude, don't fight me through those corners. If we continue to battle like that, we're going to lose touch with our leader. You've got to let me go.
Let my people go. Let's see who can part the Red Seas and take the checkered flag. 354 is the number. They've got enough to take an extra lap, just barely, it looks like. Maybe we'll still have to wait for this next one. What is this race going to hold, and will it play a factor in who takes the win or the championship even? Lucetta ahead of Burns, just as they are in the points right now, first and second.
Indeed, and all these drivers, the big thing on their mind in the championship is they cannot wreck out, or that will be the absolute disaster of an ending. But here we go, down the Parabolica again. Looks like Reese Saunders has a pretty good run on David Burns. Burns a little far back from Lucetta. He may be wanting to wait a little bit until that last lap. Starts to poke his nose to the outside. He's going to go for it now. Again, we're 3 wide as they round the sweeper.
Saunders on the very inside. Last time we've seen that inside line not quite get the exit needed, but he's going to be able to sweep across. And beautiful move from Saunders. Has he been paying attention? Because that was one of the cleanest passes we've seen into there.
It was, and I think there was a little bit of facilitation there from David Burns, who just braked a little bit at the apex to try to slow down Lucetta. Whoa! Wow, very late move there from Used Junk. Almost contact, and there is contact with Lucetta, but everybody able to gather it back under themselves.
I think they just barely avoided coming together. Let's take a look at it. The above might be able to help us out. Let's see. Yes, this is perfect.
This was a very, very bold move from Used Junk. Executes it to perfection. Avoids contact with Burns there. Little bit of a bump, I think, between Lucetta and Junk. Doesn't look like there's any damage to the car. That may have just been a wheel-to-wheel brush.
Okay. As they come to the line, is this the white flag or is it 2 to go? They're coming down to it. Laps have been consistently 157s for this group. 157 as they cross the line. Oh my goodness. All the way off into the runoff. Reese Sanders. And here's the big thing, DJ. They don't probably know if this is the last one. How do you play this with the slipstream too?
I would normally say you just would want to go for it here, I would think. And if you realize what it is, just try to keep the run and then position your car where you want it to be. That's going to be the biggest thing. So try to get out to the lead here. And then if this isn't the last lap, just go for that position. And that looks like exactly that's what Burns is going to do. He gets a really good run on Saunders. Lucetta recognizes this as well. Gets a little bit of a draft from Burns. They're going to go 3 wide again, coming down into Spitzkara.
Oh, and Saunders locks him up. Saunders starts to spin it, but he catches it. He'll be able to keep with the group, I think. Oh, but look at this, starting to pull ahead. It's Burns and Lucetta. Once again, the major protagonists in our story somehow wind up together. They've split themselves apart by about a second, ahead of Saunders and the other two. Down into Mercedes. We still don't know if this is it for the race itself, if this is the final lap. They ran a 1:58 last time by, which is just enough maybe to make this the final lap. Look into the inside. Burns, he might not be able to take the championship right here, but he wants to try and at least take the win. They're side by side as they come down into the Sachs curve. Burns trying the long way around. Will this be white flag? They're going to come together a little bit. Little wheel touch between them. Next two corners. Inside will go to David Burns. 12 seconds left on the clock as they come around. What's it going to be? We're getting the checkered flag. Down into the line, David Burns ahead. Has he won the battle but not the war? Indeed, it looks like that is the race as David Burns takes the win, but Lucetta takes the championship.
Oh my goodness gracious, what a battle. But we're going to jump back here to follow another battle. This is Christopher Crook and Ryan Walker with Bernardi looking in behind on those last couple of corners.
Oh, and also Walker trying to see if he can get past Crook as well. Brame ahead of him gets himself a 7th down into the line. It's close, but Crook in 8th, Walker 9th, Bernardi 10th.
Hoi, oi, oi, battles up and down the field. Here's Josh Brain coming to the line. That's Smet behind him, trying to make a move a little bit if he can. Cardi as well, but they're going to come across the line in the way that we called them out originally.
Let's take a look at that finish with David Burns. I don't even know if Lucetta can be disappointed with that one. This is, here we go, all the way through the stadium section. Positioned himself on the outside of the Sachs curve, hang tough. And then that gave him the critical inside down at the line to separate the two of them by barely 1/10 of a second at the line. Let's take a quick break here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Catch our breath. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so stick around. Welcome back to Hockenheim. We just watched the season finale for the Absolute Beginners League Formula Neagle, and right down to the finish, it came down between our championship rivals. David Burns won the race, but Manuel Lucchetta won the championship. Redemption from last season for the Italian. Saunders took third behind them. He even remarked after the race he was exhausted. Yonk was fourth, and Dancy still came home in fifth, but didn't get to his nose in as much as he wanted. Leach with sixth today. Brame, didn't get to talk about him, but he went from 17th to 7th. Crook was 8th, 23rd and 9th for Walker, and Bernardi rounds out your top 10.
Coming home in 11th was Thomas Kick, followed by Christian Grilla. Peter Stipek was 13th, followed by Marcus Beifeld and Josh Brain. Nick Carty came home in 16th with Neil Smet and Jan Mild behind him. And rounding out your top 20, it was Klaas Loden and Alexander Wilford.
Andre Solander was 21st with Nick Anderson in 22nd, with Neptune finishing 23rd. A bad day for him. Mann in 24th was followed by Thomas in P25, last car on the lead lap. Damian Van Immerseal finished 26th with Alpstead in 27th. Everybody from there on down was a DNF today, sadly. Up at the top, we have our winner, David Burns, and let's talk to him about that race and that finish. David, you knew that you needed max points to try and take this one home. You did everything you can. It wasn't enough, but how do you feel after that win?
Pretty good, considering that's the first time I've ever raced on this track. Just first off, huge congratulations to Manuel for the championship, because he really deserves it. He's such a good racer, and he's so good to race against. To be honest, those last few corners were an utter joy. They really were.
Yeah, talk about how you positioned yourself for that. That was some brilliant stuff from both of you. Did you know that you needed the outside of the Sachs curve? Did you know that you could hold it?
No, in all honesty. To be honest, I'd practiced a few different lines in that corner, and I had seen early on in the race, I thought, yeah, I think it's easy enough to make two work there. I'm not too sure it's somebody's pace with Manuel, so you really have to drive it in deep in order to keep that line. And to be honest, the angles I was using, I used quite a late apex line into it, so I thought I can make it work. So yep, I was surprised it did, but kudos to Manuel, because if he wasn't racing as well as he did, we would have both died.
Now that you've had a chance to race here, what are your thoughts on the track? Do you want to see it return?
I think yes. I'm not sure it's the best track for the Skippy. There's a lot of drafting in combination with some tight corners, but it is fun. Not my favourite, I would certainly say, but it is fun, and hopefully it will return.
Well, we hope you return as well. It might not be a championship this season, but we love watching your race, David.
Cheers to the broadcast, guys. Always sterling. Thanks, guys.
David Burns, your winner here today. Third place, Rhys Saunders, has caught up with DJ Clark.
Well, Rhys, we saw you come over chat and say you were absolutely exhausted after that race. And, I can't say I exactly blame you. That looked like it was a handful.
Absolutely. It was flat out racing for the full 40 minutes. I was chuffed to bits to get pole position. I actually feel a little bit disappointed I've come away third. But it just shows the quality in the opponents when you've got David and Manuel here with us.
Now, going into that last lap, obviously you had a little bit of a bobble, but I'm interested to see your headspace. We were talking about it on air. Going into that last lap, what was the thought of your positioning? Where did you want to be? Were you trying to hang back where you were so you could get the best draft possible, or what was going through your mind?
Yeah, I'd made a mistake with my positioning, actually. I thought we was getting one extra lap. So I thought I was going to be in position to be second or third starting the final lap, because I realised whoever led the white flag lap as we crossed the line wasn't going to win the race. And unfortunately, that was the position I put myself in. And then I overdrove the hairpin trying to brave it around the outside. And it just let Manu and David get away.
Gotcha. Yeah, that was what we were speculating about, as I said. Now, I'm also curious for you, going into a new season next year, anything you're particularly looking forward to? Anything you'd like to see on the schedule? Any goals for you?
Yeah, I just really want to get my year one racing machine. I want to get my first Absolute Beginners League win. And, you know, I want to challenge for the championship. So say, hopefully going to run a full season next season and be in contention.
Well, I know we'll be here to watch it, and we wish you all the luck in the world. And if you keep running races like that, I think being in contention for that championship is certainly on the cards, if I do say so myself.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
That was third place finisher Rhys Saunders. Now, the only sad news in all of this is it doesn't appear we'll get to talk to Lucetta. I'm not sure if he's just not got a mic or if maybe he doesn't have a translator that could help him if he's not confident in his English. But Manuel, we definitely want to talk to you if you get a chance. A big thank you, though, to everybody at the Absolute Beginners League for bringing us back for another season of coverage. And also, we want to thank the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcasts that are listed here on your screen. Additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Her Bandcamp is listed there. And thanks to the team today, DJ, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. We also have our social media outlets listed at the bottom of the screen. If you'd like to support us, check out our merchandise store at simracingmerch.com/GSRC. We got a link in the description below. And don't forget while you're down there to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss a moment. The next race, we're still figuring out what track it is going to be, but it'll be Sunday, June 13th for the Race of Champions, the celebration that is always the most fun at the end of the season for the Absolute Beginners League. That'll be at 2 p.m. Eastern as usual. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar, including a little later this evening. Get ready for some fun. The Precision Race League's NASCAR Cup Series goes to Circuit of the Americas. The trucks already gave us an incredible one, and that'll be at 8:30 p.m. Eastern tonight. Until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.